Welcome, welcome, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to Eden Outpost. Happy Sabbath, my brothers and sisters. We welcome you to today's program, Prophecy Update. Today we are going to look at the final crisis. Are we ready for the next crisis that will lead to a major shaking and a revolution that is to come to the whole world for everyone? So I pray that you'll be able to find a humble place that we may be able to study, have pen and paper and Bible, so that we can be able to ask God to guide us and to lead us into this program. So I pray that may the love of God guide you as we start. We are praying. We are praying. Our kind and loving Father, we thank you for your love and care. Thank you for allowing us to study this program, to start this program. How I pray that may the presence of holy angels be with us, the presence of the Holy Spirit and heaven be join us, Lord, as we study today. We know we are feeble, we know we are sinners, we are not worthy to stand. Oh God, we pray that you may help us, that Lord, we may be able to understand our duty, because I believe we have very, very few short months before you are coming. Abide with us, take charge over us, hasten those who want to join. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, welcome again. My name is Brother Eric Osoro. I welcome you to today's program, that you may be able to study with us. Those who are on YouTube, we welcome you. Those who have joined in Zoom, a few of them, I see a majority on YouTube. We ask you that may the love of God be with you as we study today's program. So today, as I said earlier, we are going to study about the final crash. My brothers and sisters, I believe without any doubt that we are living in a few short months to a few short years to the final crisis that our Sister White has put, that is going to shake the whole world as an overwhelming surprise. And my brothers, what we need to do, as we are going to see today, that we are going to mend not our garments but our hearts, that we may be able to be ready to face this crisis. Do you remember there's a crisis? All of there's a crisis that Christ told his disciples when he was living in Matthew chapter 25, in which we saw there were 5 wise virgins and 5 foolish virgins. And the 5 wise virgins made preparation to meet the bridegroom, but the 5 foolish virgins who are unwise did not make preparations. And when the time of trial came, when the time that the actual bridegroom came, there was a mismatch between them. And I like as we read the same, so that we can be able to liken to the crisis that is and is to come upon us. When we read the book of Christ Object Lesson, I'm reading the book called Christ Object Lesson, the last chapter. We are reading the book called Christ Object Lesson on the last chapter, to meet the bridegroom. We are reading from verse 4, from chapter, the last chapter. We're reading page 4 or 5. We're reading in page 4 or 5. We read Christ with the disciples seated in the Mount of Olives. The sun has set behind the mountains, and the heavens are curtained with the shades of the evening. In full view of the dwelling house, lighted up brightly as if for the festive scene, the light streams from the openings, and the expectant company wait around, indicating that a marriage procession is soon to appear. Then we are being told that the bridegroom goes forth to meet the bride and bring her to her home. In the scene upon which Christ looks a company are awaiting the appearance of the bridal party intending to join the procession. Lingering near the bride's house are 10 young women robed in white. Each carries a light lamp and a small flagon of oil. All are anxiously waiting for the appearing of the bridegroom, but there is a delay. So my brothers and sisters, As we like, and we know Ellen White also applies this to the last day events, that when the bridegroom delayed, what happened? Many went to do their own things. There was a delay in waiting. People prepared for everything they wanted to do, but there was a delay. Then we read, after our passes, watchers become weary and fall asleep. At midnight, a cry is heard. This is page 4:6. Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. The sleepers suddenly awaking spring to their feet. They see the procession moving on, bright with the torches and glad with music. They hear the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. The 10 maidens seize their lamps and begin to trim them in haste to go forth. But 5 have neglected to fill their flasks with their oil. They did not anticipate so long a delay, and they have not prepared for the emergency. My brothers and sisters, this is the same thing that is going to happen before Christ comes. That the 5 wise virgins and the foolish virgins, all of them were given the invitation to go to the wedding. But the wise ones carried what? Oil, in an expectation that there might be a delay. And actually a delay came. And on this delay, the 5, all of them fell asleep because they waited long. But at midnight, and we saw in previous studies that at midnight, the day, according to Habakkuk, that the voice, at the voice of the bridegroom, behold, the bridegroom cometh, at the voice that is given, which symbolizes the day, the close of human probation. Those who had prepared to enter the marriage with the bridegroom, they entered, and those who did not prepare, they were shut out because they did not have extra oil. And remember, we are told that they tried to borrow, but the wise ones told them that this cannot be enough for us. Go to the shops and buy oil for those who sell at the shops. And my brothers and sisters, what happened? When they went, they were shut out in the darkness and they could not enter. Remember, we are told in Zechariah 4 that the oil represents the Holy Spirit. And those people who do have the Holy Spirit, who is responsible in molding our characters, are the ones who are going to join the procession, the marriage feast that is made for that is prepared for the bride, that is this church, according to Revelation 19, are going to enter into the marriage prepared that is going to heaven. And those who did not prepare, they are going to do what? They're going to get lost. Why? Because at that time, character, Ellen White tells us, is not transferable. You cannot be, wife cannot transfer character to the husband. Husband cannot be able to transfer character to the wife. Children cannot transfer character to the parents and vice versa. And at that time, you cannot be able to prepare, because to have a perfect character does not take a day, does not take an hour. It takes time. And today we are going to see that this time that we need to prepare our character is soon, and very soon, upon to appear before us. And if we've not been able to have the similitude or after the pattern of the character of Christ, we cannot be able to stand when the bridegroom cometh. We cannot be able to stand. So what do we have? We need to get the oil very fast before the shops close. Do you know what happens before the curfews every evening? Everybody tries to get what he is supposed to get, because what will happen? Those who are going to be caught by the curfew, there is punishment. So it is for those who are not going to be ready for the crisis, not only physically, spiritually, but also spiritually. They are going to be shut out. And my brothers and sisters, it will be so sad. You know how it's going to be? It's going to be according to Matthew chapter 7. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 7. There's a crisis, my brothers and sisters, that we are supposed to face. Matthew chapter 7. This is prophecy update. We welcome those who are joining. Matthew chapter 7, we're going to read from verse 21. Not everyone that said unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doth the will of my Father which is in heaven. So, my brothers and sisters, not everyone who calls Lord, not everyone who preaches Lord, not everyone who appears that is a Christian is going to call Lord, Lord shall enter. But what will happen? Only those who do his will, those who follow the Lamb, will however go. But many of us are going to be, according to the next verse, which is saying, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonders. And I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that worketh iniquity. My brothers and sisters, a majority of us are going to be pushed out because we never knew Christ, and Christ will never know us. Do you know the top verse in verse 20 says, wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. Christ is going to recognize his own by the fruits. And we know the fruits in Galatians 5 verse 22, that the fruits of the Holy Spirit were being given: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, patience. We know all those, the fruits. Those are the ones who are going to be identified by Christ. My brothers and sisters, there's something that is going to make the people of God to be known. And those are the ones who have the character of Christ. And we know in the crisis, it is when character is revealed. In Christ Object Lesson, in the same chapter, we're being told it is in a crisis that character is revealed. Are you ready for the crisis? We are told by Sister White, a great crisis awaits the people of God. A great crisis awaits the world. The most momentous struggle of all the ages is before us. Events which for more than half a century we have upon the authority of the prophetic word declared to be impending, are now taking place before our eyes. Don't we see the events? You know, I was talking to a friend, and he was sharing about what is happening in this world to a friend of his. And that friend of his told him that indeed we're in the last days. And he's not even somebody who knows anything close to the truth. Even the heathen are knowing that Christ is coming. Even the blind person can be able to feel and hear that something is about to take place. And the only person who's not be able to know what is happening is me and you. We are being told an amendment to the Constitution restricting liberty of conscience has long been urged upon the legislators of the nation, and the question of enforcing Sunday observance has become one of national importance. Are we ready for the issue involved in the Sunday movement? My brothers and sisters, we know this is the great issue. The Constitution already in our country has been changed. The Constitution in America has been changed. And the issue is we need to have a 1 day of worship. And the big question is, are you ready for what is coming? Then we're being told we are going to proceed. We are being told many are working for Sunday enforcement. There are so many who are working to thinking that they're bringing the common good. There are many people who are working thinking that they're returning things to the new normal, but they don't know what they are doing. They're just doing it innocently. We're being told many are working for the Sunday enforcement, have never understood the claims of the Bible Sabbath and the false foundation which the Sunday institution rests, and they are blinded to the result of Sunday legislation. They do not see that it will be a blow against religious liberty, but any movement in favor of religious legislation is really an act of concession to purpose. My brothers and sisters, Rome is leading, and we're going to see not only the Bible says, the newspaper are saying, only the spirit of prophecy is saying. It's not me who's saying, I'm quoting what is written. It will only take us to reject the truth, but it's going to reveal itself today. We're being told which for so many ages has steadily warred against the religious liberty of conscience. Sunday owes its existence as a so-called Christian institution to the mystery of iniquity, and its enforcement will be a virtual recognition of the principles which we are being told. Sorry, let me add someone. We're being told, that Sunday owes its existence as a so-called Christian institution to the mystery of iniquity, and its enforcement will be virtual recognition of the principles which are the very cornerstone of humanism. When our nation shall so abjure the principles of its government as to enact a Sunday law, Protestantism will in this act join hands with the papacy, and it will be giving life to the tyranny as which has so long been eagerly waiting its opportunity to spring again into active despotism. So, my brothers and sisters, step by step, the Romanism is joining hands. It has used Protestantism as a way to bring the Sunday observance close. So we need to be watchful. We may be doing things so innocent. Those who are not Adventists, my brothers and sisters, we're going to see that Rome is leading the whole world to worship a one government, a one religious day, a one religion, so that all of us can be able to be led by the evil one from the true Sabbath truth that is in the Bible. My brothers and sisters, we need to pray that God to guide us. Otherwise, my brothers and sisters, if we do not open our eyes, then we'll be forever lost. And we know, my brothers and sisters, Christ told us, and we saw last week, all the 12 signs that Christ gave us, the tribulation that Christ was talking about, the distress, the troubles, the affliction, which depict the type of trial. We saw all of them, the famine, the hunger, all of those things, the 12 signs. And we see even Christ in himself talked about the financial crisis in Luke and also in John. We're going to cover those ones in the future lessons. So, my brothers and sisters, we know that Christ explained in verse 2, and we saw last time between verse 8 and 9 before persecution, we saw that just immediately after the pandemic, what is going to follow is the National Sunday Law, which will lead to the persecution for those who observe God and those who do not give allegiance to man of sin. And we know that also there are those who are not going to bow down to Babylon, as depicted in the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 21, which depicts Babylon falling like a rock, which refers to an economy falling down. James 5:3, we're going to see talking about the economy conquering, rusting, going down, my brothers and sisters, and this is the last sign leading us to the National Sunday Law. So, my brothers and sisters, it's not only me who's saying that. We built up last week, but also we are seeing even the people of the world are seeing that something is happening. We cannot be blind to see the events, and we saw that the events come from history. The events are those things happening in respect to Ecclesiastes 3:15. We saw that we need to look at history. We need to look at what is happening so that you can be able to know how close are we to the National Sunday Law. We're being told by the Prophet in Prophet and Kings, page 536, 537, that the present is a time of overwhelming interest to all living, rulers and statesmen, men who occupy positions of trust and authority, thinking men and women of all classes have their attention fixed upon the events taking place about us. All this category of people, the four classes, are looking what is happening in the world. And we are going to see how they are looking. They are watching the relation that exists among the nations. They observe the intensity that is taking possession of every earthly element, and they recognize that something great and decisive is about to take place, that the world is on the verge of a what? Stupendous crisis. So, my brothers and sisters, everybody is seeing. The devil is knowing that he has a short time. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. We know, everyone is knowing that time is almost finished. This is a common verse. We've been using it in this. We are doing this for those who are not part of Adventist Church. Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. We read, "Therefore, rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and to the sea." Woe is a warning. If I tell you woe unto you, it's a warning. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. For who? The devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. The devil, my brothers and sisters, knoweth that he hath a short time. But it is me and you who doesn't know that we have but a short time. Now, the question is, let's look at the rulers. Let's look at the statement. Let's look at the thinking men. What is their thinking? What are they focusing? Are they showing us how close we are? Because we are told by the prophet that they're showing us that something great and decisive is soon to happen before us, which is leading to the stage setting of the national Sunday law. Let's go. This is one of the thinking men. He said, power naturally and necessarily follows property. So if one of the people who's thinking is telling us that power naturally and necessarily follows property, we are being told that if our forthcoming power, because if we read Revelation chapter 13, we are being told that John saw a power coming. Let's read Revelation so that we see for this power to come, it has to own. Power naturally and necessarily follows property. Revelation 13, we're being told, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads what? The name blasphemy. And I saw the beast which I saw unto a leopard, and his feet were as feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him what? His power. Have we seen power there? And his seat and authority. And we know in Revelation chapter 17, we are being told in verse 15 that, and he said unto me that the waters thou sawest, which were the host seated, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, meaning that this kingdom is coming out of the people. And we know that it had 10 horns and 10 what? And it had 10 horns and 7 heads. And if we read in Revelation chapter 17 verse 9, and he is the mind which has wisdom, the 7 heads are the what? The 7 mountains, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not, and yet to come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. We're going to have a series to see this kingdom that is rising. This is a kingdom coming, surrounded by searching. The only kingdom that came out of the 7 mountains is none other than Rome, the Vatican itself. This is common knowledge. So, my brothers and sisters, it was given power by who? Power, great seat, and authority by who? The devil himself. My brothers and sisters, what will precipitate the crisis and collapse? Because we see the thinking men are telling us that the power naturally and necessary follows property. This power owns property. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18. We see this power. Does it own property? Revelation chapter 18. This Babylonian power. Babylonian power. 18 verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel coming down from the heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and hold of every false spirit, and a cage of unclean hateful bird. Let's see Babylon, what it owns. Let's go to let's start from verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stone and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all. This verse 12. Thine wood and all manner of vessels, ivory and all manner of vessels, and precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors. It continues. It is so rich. It is so rich. Verse 15, the merchants of these which were made rich by her shall stand far off, and for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city which was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stone and pearls, for in 1 hour great riches is come to naught. This is none other than what? Papacy. We see the priest wearing scarlet, wearing purple, wearing white, but doesn't wear blue. So, my brothers and sisters, this beast that is coming, it is going to do what? To cause all in Revelation 13, verse 15, to worship him. Worship him. Because if we go to Revelation 13, we want to see the power so that we see how it will work. In Revelation 13, verse 4, it says, and he worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped him, the beast, saying, who's like unto the beast? Who's able to make war with him? And there was given him mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue for 42 months. We know this power. He has power, this beast, this kingdom, which is purpose itself. But this beast does not come out currently on its own. It uses another beast. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, we read, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the beast, whose deadly wound was healed. My brothers and sisters, we know these horns is none other. This beast coming out of what? Out of the earth. This is America coming out of Baal from history by Red Indians. And we know in Bible prophecy, horn represents power, my brothers and sisters. Okay? 17:12 Revelation. And it was able to do what? It was able, he exercises all the power, 13:12 of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So this beast called America, which has two power, that is power over the civil state to enforce the law, that is create persecute those who are not to worship the first. How will it bring? We know kingdoms to gain control. It has to persecute, to kill. Currently is bringing a war of the beast. Let's go. The thinking man. How one of American ugliest days unraveled inside and outside the capital. Let's continue. We are being told one of the things that is going to bring us closer to the National Sunday Law is civil war. Former Trump official Fiona Hill, president's actions have put us on the brink of what? Civil war. Question: did Sister White talk of what? Of war. Yes, Sister White talked of war. There's civil war that is going to repeat itself. And if, my brothers and sisters, we are not going to be ready, this civil war is going to find us. And we are going to be persecuted. There's a civil war that is following us. I want to put this quotation. Just watch in a minute so that we can be able to understand that Rome is leading the whole world to worship the beast. And the civil war is one of the agencies that this power is using to bring the mark of the beast. Let's read in India, China, and Russia, and the cities of America. If I had time, I could show you how India, China, and Russia have been leading this whole world to receive the mark of the beast. They are being used by America. Thousands of men and women are dying of starvation. The married men, because of their power, they have what? They have the power. We saw about the power. Control the market. They purchase at low rates all they can and obtain, and then they sell at greatly increased price. This means starvation to the poorer classes and will result in a civil war. So the civil war will be resulted by the power to control the markets that will control no buying and selling. This is according to Revelation chapter 13, verse 17. This is according to Revelation 13, verse 17. And there will be a time of trouble such as never was. My brothers and sisters, So how is this civil war being led? Did we see the other day when petrol was about to be increased? What happened? Did we see what happened? Everyone ran to the petrol station. Who owns the petrol? Babylon. Who owns the houses? Babylon. The people in Babylon. Who owns the rich people? Who owns the supermarkets? Who owns everything that we buy, even the water? These are the rich, moneyed men. And because they have the power to control, they are going to lead a civil war because they control the market. They increase the prices. We have nothing. Now, let's listen to this thinking man called Fiona Hill. We're being told former Trump national security member Fiona Hill on Monday said that President Trump's actions have put us on the brink of a civil war. We were told here that the civil war will lead, and immediately after the civil war, there'll be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. We know the time of trouble will just follow immediately after the National Sunday Law. Let's continue. Red Hill, who served as a senior director of European and Russian affairs. Are we seeing the power of Russia here? Yes, we see the power of Russia here. Sister White talked us after the Second Civil War. We're being told on the National Security Council, they called Capitol raid a coup in the Politico op-ed, saying that a coup does not need to be a sudden violent seizure of power involving clandestine plots and militant takeovers. How is it? Let's ask my sister here, a thinking woman. Trump disguised what he was doing by operating in a plain sight, talking openly about his intent. She said, he normalized his action so people will accept him. I have been studying authoritarian regimes for 3 decades. These are thinking men. We read that thinking men and women are watching. And they are telling us that the world is in the verge of a stupendous crisis. Did Sister White wrong? Was she wrong? Let's continue to hear what this thinking woman is saying. I've been studying authoritarian regimes for 3 decades, and I know the signs of a coup when I see them. Now, how are they? The former Trump official said Trump's effort to stay in power during his presidency amounted to a self-coup that was ultimately successful. But when somebody says but, it means that there's a twist. She noted the bad news is that his supporters still believe the false narrative. Which is the false narrative, Sister Hill? That the president won the re-election after he and other Republicans have promoted unfounded claims that the widespread voter fraud led to the blow. So meaning these people, they're still agitated. They've not backed up. They've not backed up as much as the presidency has been announced that President Trump has won. They have not backed up. We're going to see. Trump has not repudiated it, nor have the House and Senate. Republicans who voted against the electoral college results, she wrote, millions of people still think the election was stolen. They still support Trump, the person, not the Republican Party. And many are prepared to take further action on his behalf. As in the case of other coup attempts, the president's actions have put us on the brink of a civil war. He'll continue. Trump did not overturn the election result, but just as he intended, he disrupted the peaceful democratic transition of executive power. Hill called on Republicans to counter the false claim that the election was illegitimate to prevent the constitutional order from being disrupted. So this group of people, they've not backed up as much as Trump. They're not now Republicans per se. They are pro-Trump supporters. Let's go to the other newspapers, because we are told by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. By a matter of 2 or 3 witnesses shall be done what? Shall be established. These people have not backed up. These people have not backed up. Let's continue. Will you know when the civil war has begun? Since the era of Trump began more than 4 years ago, I have been confounded by the level of anger, and hate in this country. In this country. So how do we know? We know, how can we be able to know how civil wars start? These are the thinking, man. This is February 18, 2021. Look what they are doing. This is a person tearing the United States flag. And you know, red stands for what? Republicans. Blue stands for Democrats. How do they start? Let's read. Until quite recently, a civil war seemed to be impossible. Until what? Civil war seemed to be impossible. In the United States, something of the past for most citizens, not of the future. But Capitol insurrection on January 6th and the rise of violent domestic extremism have set off alarm bells about the potential for another descent into internal war. So the civil war is an internal war between parties. Do you know they're using the word bell? Do you know Exodus 28 mentions about the bell and pomegranate? That informs us when the priest go in and the priest comes out at the Day of Atonement. This is so figurative. Let's continue. That may seem far-fetched, but there have been literally hundreds of internal conflicts around the world in countries from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. And more depressingly, in many ways, the US Civil War never actually ended and may indeed be ramping back up. Let's continue. With President Joe Biden in firm control, recent events make the risk of wider political violence painful obvious. Civil wars are unique in their specific causes, the ways they escalate from clashing interests to violence, and the ways they de-escalate. But all civil wars share at least three features in common. Three things to consider, my brothers and sisters, and you'll be shocked that religion is part of the things that is going to bring us to the ushering of the civil law. Actually, it has done so. Let's ask ourselves, which are these three features that will lead or has led to the civil war that is already brewing in the United States, that will bring us to a time of trouble, and that time of trouble will lead Michael to stand up. And the big question is, are you ready for the crisis? Let's continue. Now, first, most civil wars follow the same prior conflict. Often a previous civil war, or more accurately, the highly skewed and politicized memory of a past civil war. The new belligerents nor the issues need not to be exactly the same as the old. Most often, a charismatic leader spouts a narrative about a past glory or humiliation that suits the ideology, political ambitions. Did we see this happening? That a past humiliation, people not believing that Trump never won. People believe, those who are in Kenya, that 2012 post-election did not end. Do you know? There is going to be another repeat if God does not hold the winds of strife in our country. People do not believe, those my brothers in Tanzania, that by the death of Magufuli, they don't believe there is another second president. They're going to be two factions, yin and yang. If you know the psychology that they use. Second, national identity is divided along some critical axes, such as race. Second is what? Faith. Or three, what? Class. Question. Did we see the blacks and the whites in America? The white supremacists and the white, I don't know how they call themselves, happening in America? Have we seen what they call, I'm forgetting this name, that they are calling those people who are pro-Trump, having a certain faith belonging to Trump? Have we seen classes between the whites and the blacks? All countries have a fracture lines, and no, who? All. So it's not the US, it is all have a fracture lines and cleavages, but some divides are deeper than others. Even initially, minor cleavages may be exploited by domestic or foreign actors committed to redistribution of wealth and what power. We were told wealth and power will lead to the mark of the beast. For example, the Soviet Union, now Russia, has unsuccessfully devoted serious resources to destabilizing the United States and its allied democracies by intensifying existing cleavages. Did we see United States, cities of America and Russia, Sister White saying that they're going to make Michael to stand up? Yes, we saw that, my brothers and sisters. Although necessarily, these first two feature, the first two what? The first two, race and what? Faith. They feature because we know the third one, rich and poor. Those are classes, free and bond. We read, although these first two features, a prior war and a deepening cleavages are not sufficient to spark a civil war. For that, you need a third element, which is the first two. That is the first class and the second class. Now this is the third. You need this so that it can be able to trigger the civil war. And what is this? A shift from tribalism to sectarianism. Do we have tribalism in Kenya right now? Yes, we have. Yes, we are going to have. We are seeing, we know. Are we seeing the politics leading us to a certain tribe? Are they alleging us, my brothers and sisters? And they are going to move from tribalism to sect, to religion. Do you know sect comes from, sectarianism comes from sect, those who believe a certain belief. Those who believe, they are those who believe not voting are the ones who are going to be persecuted. Do you know who are they? They're the ones who do not want to bring change. They're the ones who are not going to bring the new constitution into order. Brothers, we need to wake up. With tribalism, people begin to seriously doubt whether other groups in other countries have larger community-based interests at heart. In sectarian environments, the economic, social, and political elites and those they represent come to believe that anyone who disagrees with them is evil and actively working to destroy the community. So my brothers and sisters, those who are working against them, they are what? They are against. There is something that Trump had, their theology is called what core. There's something that even Walter Waite was talking about, that there's a certain ideology. Anyway, I'm forgetting, starting with QO. QAnon, yes, QAnon theology they are bringing, that the QAnon ideology is against the Catholicism of what they are talking. Enemies of the state come to displace the loyal position, with those have been inside another tribe seen as the most disloyal. It's akin to how some religious, look how they're turning. It's akin to how some religions treat apostates, infidels. Often it is apostates, the former adherents of faith, that are targeted more than readily over other infidels. Those who had always been, those who have always what? Been on the outside. Are you seeing now what they are saying is that to bring the civil war, they have to bring religion into the picture. That there are people who are in politics, but they believe in a certain way which is different. And then they relate it that it is how some religions treat apostates, infidels, how they treat offshoots. It is hard not to see echoes of this dynamic at play as Republicans condemn other Republicans over their loyalty or lack thereof to former US President Trump. Indeed, the United States now displays all the three core elements that can lead to a civil war breakdown, meaning that the United States has already complied to make sure that there's some people who have the QAnon ideology must be persecuted. Welcome, honey. Maybe you can join us. We are talking about the final crisis in relation to religion. This is what President Trump, President Biden was standing for in 2013. Look how they were brewing, how they were molding and fashioning him. Formative task before us is to create a what?
Is to create a new world order.
He's a child of what? Purpose. And they've changed the new world order into what?
The Great Reset.
Can you tell us about the Great Reset?
Okay. In 2020, in around before October, there was a magazine, Times magazine, which came out with the title, The Great Reset.
Let me read so that they can understand. COVID-19 crisis and the political, so that you explain, and the political, economic, and social disruption it has caused is fundamentally changing the traditional context for decision making. The inconsistencies, inadequacies, and contradictions of multiple systems, from health and financial to energy and education, are more exposed than ever amidst a global context of concern for lives. So this crisis is bringing us to a certain ideology. Did you read that as a thing of bringing a civil war? Certain ideology. Let's continue. Leaders find themselves at a historic crossroads, managing short-term pressures against medium and long-term uncertainties. Then we are being told, as we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future of state of global relations, the direction of national economies. National what? Economies, buying and selling, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of global commons, drawing from the vision and vast expertise of the leaders engaged across the forum communities. The Great what? Reset initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract. A new social what? Contract. A new social law, because there's no law, there's no contract without a law. The law of contract that honors the dignity of every human being. Maybe you can explain how the genesis of the Great Reset.
Okay, so in 2020, on Time magazine, there was a title, Great Reset.
Mm-hmm.
And in this Great Reset, this magazine came before even the elections.
Mm-hmm.
But you find out that they were talking about, it is January 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe Biden has won the election, and he has become the president.
Mm-hmm.
And then things have started coming to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are talking about, they are saying in 2023, things now they've gone back to normal. Mm-hmm. So they were talking about the COVID-19 and how Trump has destabilized the economy and everything. And then it was talking about how Joe Biden is going to come into the office and reset everything that Trump had done. That's why you see the first things, or the first thing that Joe Biden did when he became the president is to sign how many? 15 executive orders to reverse whatever Trump, most of the things that Trump had done, what has stood for. So you find out that in this Great Reset, I even asked the question because we had covered this widely. I think before even the elections, after the elections, when there were all those taking them to court and everything, we had covered that because that magazine became so prominent during the elections. So we were even asking before they finished counting and before they could declare the winner, we were saying, can your vote count? Because if it was 2020, before even the elections, they had already written what is going to happen.
Imagine.
And people were busy queuing, going to vote and saying that we want this one to be put in office. So the whole thing about Great Reset, it's just the other name under the New World Order, but they've clothed it in a Great Reset so that you cannot realize what they are talking about. But when you look at that magazine, you find out that they had put everything that now we are going to have solar power, we are going to remove there's climate change, which is there. In fact, on that magazine, the cover was the world map, and then they've put different types that they were planning to do. I think we have a slide as we go ahead. We see that they had put there'll be solar, there's no climate change, there's nothing, everything has gone back to normal. So this is the issue of Great Reset. But we see that under this Great Reset is the New World Order.
Now, look what they are saying. You never want what? A serious crisis to go to what? To waste. We are being told
that, and what I mean by that is an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
What is he trying to say?
So he's saying that they cannot let a serious crisis go to waste. When we look at what is happening now, COVID-19 is a serious crisis because it has affected everyone. And this opportunity, they've grabbed it with all the hands. They cannot leave this to go to waste. There'll be order out of this chaos of the COVID-19. There'll be order at the end of the day. So we will see that order, it is coming into shape. So these people, if you can just read, you know that what they are saying or what they are doing, this is what is called order out of chaos. So they'll bring chaos and then they'll bring order. You see, when you look at examples in South Africa, they brought the black and the white
and then they
to crash. At the end of the day, they brought in a certain order that they wanted. That's why today, even when you go to South Africa, blacks are not as free as they claim to be. Because when you look even in the job market, they are not there. Most of the people who are in the job market, in fact, there are people who are coming from different countries, and the whites are still running the show. So this is the order that they wanted. They'll bring this group and that group, they make them crash. At the end of the day, they bring in something that they want.
Hygien and dialectic, they call it.
Yes.
Now, listen to the next one. In the Great Reset agenda, they have three main components. First, we'll steer the market towards the fairer outcomes. To this end, government should improve coordination for tax, regulatory, and fiscal policy. Like you see the way we are borrowing loans. You saw that?
Yes.
Upgrade trade agreements, create conditions for stake economy. I wish we have the whole night to describe, but we don't have time. Let's continue, maybe next week, to show how we are being brought to the knees by the loans. A time of diminishing tax bases, soaring public debt. You see that? Governments have a power to incentive and pursue what? Such an action. Moreover, governments should implement long overdue reforms that promote more equitable outcomes depending on country. This may include changes to what? Well, the taxes, wealth taxes, the withdrawal of fossil fuel subsidies. Now, this is, they're going to remove these prices of fuel. Finally, we are going to electric cars. And new rules governing what? Intellectual property, trade, and competition. Did you see the other day they say they are revoking all the titles? Yes. Now, let's see on this quote, before even we cannot manage to read everything, let's see the new rules of intellecting property and trade. Or read this one. Let me read and then we'll highlight the yellow. The second component of our Great Reset agenda will ensure that investments advance shared goals such as equality and sustainability, meaning that yours is mine. The rich and the poor are going to be merged. Here, large-scale spending programs that many governments are implementing represent much opportunity to progress the roads and everything. Now, let's see the new rules. One of the rules, we are not going to cover all of them. 8 predictions for the world. We're not just covering one of it. One of it is
World economic
to you will own what? Read for us.
You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Can you explain here what they're trying to say?
So they are saying that you have nothing and you'll be happy.
Meaning everything
So
belongs
everything
to
belongs to,
the government.
yes, the government will take back everything and you have nothing and you're going to be happy.
So
Because in fact, when you look at the Vatican, when you look at the canon law that is in the that is governing the Vatican City, one of the points they are saying that they say that what is yours is theirs.
yes,
What is mine is theirs. So they can do anything with it.
you know, it reminds us in Joseph's time, Genesis 47. Let's go to Genesis 47. We read just a few verses. We see that at that time, when money failed, people owned nothing. Genesis 47. And we are told by and white, as Joseph was in Egypt, so is every Seventh Adventist. Genesis 47, verse 13. Genesis 47:13, we are being told, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. Now, the land of Egypt represents the people of the world. The land of Canaan represents the people of God. So there are 2 classes. All of them famine. Now let's continue. Did Amos say there's going to be famine again? Yes. So this is a type, the other one is a what? Antitype. Let's read. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of what? Egypt, and in the land of Canaan, and the corn for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought money into Pharaoh's house, central bank system. Now, and when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to who? Joseph, and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence, for money fails? And Joseph said, give your cattle, and I'll give you your cattle if money fails. These are loans. Give me your title, I give you money. I give you money to buy. This is the current thing that we are having. Security. Joseph said, fine, for you to eat, bring security. And now let's continue. And they brought the cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread. Are people selling their land, houses? And finally, they're going to sell even their children. Let's see. Even us, if we're not careful. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread. And in exchange for horses and for the flocks, verse 17, and for the cattle and the herds and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all the cattle for that year. Now listen. When that, verse 18, when that year was ended, they came unto him second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from you, my Lord. How that our money is what? Spent. Pesa yetu imeisha. My Lord also hath our herds of cattle. You have your cows still. There is not enough left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our what? Our lands. So meanings that the thing that is remaining is us. You own nothing. Now, read for us. Verse 19.
Verse 19 says, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land, buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land may not, that the land be not desolate.
Verse 20.
And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's, and as for the people,
But just leave there. The people belonged to who?
To Pharaoh.
Everything belonged to who?
To Pharaoh.
What are we reading here?
We are reading that
you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
And you'll be happy.
Are we told in Amos that there's going to be another famine?
Yes.
And in this famine, will it be like as it was in the time of Joseph? So shall it be? Yes, we are told by the prophet. Now, let's continue. You cannot be able to do what? To buy or sell, because you have nothing. Everything belongs to. So if they want to give you cow dung, they can give you. If they want to give you metal, they'll give you. If they want to give you drugs to drink, they'll give you. You will not have a say on what you eat, what you buy, what you own, what you do. Now, you know, this is not only there. These thinking men, they told us when this thing are starting to happen. And this is a newspaper. I shared it. I remember I shared it when we were at Bomas of Kenya. No, Kenya Wildlife. And a recession, which we are seeing right now. Let's look at the thinking men. More than 70% of economists think that the US recession will strike by the end of what?
2021.
Hey, may God have mercy. The US economy. This is the thinking men. I'm not saying this is Business Insider. But we are told to focus on the thinking men because they are telling us that there's a crisis. We are not focusing on the time, we are focusing on the event. When we see these events coming, we know that we need to lift up our hands. Now, let's see what Ellen White told us. Read for us.
And then the great deceiver will persuade men that those
who are what?
That those who
are serving God,
that those who serve God are causing these evils. The class that have provoked the displeasure of heaven will charge all their troubles upon those whose obedience to God's commandment is a perpetual reproof to transgressors. It will be declared that men are offending God by the violating of the Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamity which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced, and that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, thus destroying reverence for Sunday, are troublers of the people, preventing their restoration to divine favor and temporal prosperity.
So what is temporal prosperity? Money.
It's money.
So they are saying that there are people who are destroying us, not how we worship. Restoration to divine favor, that we want to go back to church, isn't it? We want to worship the way we want. But there's a certain class of people who are making disruptions. There's a certain class who are making us not to go to the new green economy, isn't it? That's what they call it. We've been seeing that in the past.
Yes, and if you look at this quotation, they are saying that these are the troublers of the people.
Yes.
And when you look in the Bible, in the book of Kings, you find Elijah there. And Ahab, when he had married Jezebel, he had gone away from us. And God sent him about the crisis that was ahead. He told the king that there's a crisis because you and your family, you've caused the whole Israel to worship idols. It won't rain for 3.5 years. And then what did Ahab say? Elijah went and they did not catch him. But after 3.5 years, when Elijah, God told him to go and show himself to who? To Ahab. And he was walking in the field and he found the servant of Ahab. He told him, go and call Ahab. I want to talk to him. When Ahab came, he said, are you the troubler
of Israel?
And he said, no, it's not me. It's you and what? And your household. So you find out that here they are saying that the people who are going to keep the commandments of God, who are going to live according to the will of God, they are going to be called troublers of the people, because they won't go with the flow. They won't go like everyone is going. They won't do what everyone is doing. They'll be separate. In fact, the Bible says in the book of Peter, for you are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood. So if you are peculiar, you are not doing like everyone is doing, you are not behaving like everyone is behaving, then you're going to become a troubler of the people.
Yeah, so, and there were troublers of the people in the Bible. We know Jesus was called a troubler of what? Of the people, isn't it? We know even the time of Moses. Moses was called a troubler in the land of Egypt. So there are many people who are being who will be called the troubler of the people. But the big question is, as we continue, are you ready to be called as the troubler of the people? And we're going to see that there are issues already boiling inside even ourselves, trying to show that there are people who are starting to point fingers. A civil war is doing what? A civil war is brewing. So let's continue. This is the graph they were trying to show how it will happen later than 2021. We're going to move. Climate Sunday launched to promote what? Climate action. Look at the
To
dates.
promote church climate action.
Climate Sunday has been organized by the Environmental Issues Network of churches, Together Britain and Ireland, supported by the charities including Offered Christian Aid and all those. Local churches are encouraged to hold a Climate Sunday at any time during 1 year period from the annual season of what? Creation. And this, they continue to say that it will end in this year when they are going to have the next summit in, there's a summit that they're going to have in France, and there's a summit that is going to have in Spain. And I wonder why France? Yeah? There's a repetition. Ellen White talked about that in Education 196. Now, look again. This is restoration to divine favor. Now they want a new climate religion.
The climate is changing.
Mm.
That's what they say. And when you read the book of Isaiah,
Mhm.
it says that this world is waxing old like
Yes, like a garment. Yes.
So this world is also growing. It's under the pain of sin for the past 6,000 years. So it is also crying to be redeemed. This
Yes.
earth, because there's too much bloodshed, there's too much sin. So God said that this earth is waxing like an old garment, like a garment. So there's nothing that you can do if you've bought a cloth, you've worn it, and this cloth now has started tearing.
Getting
You
old.
mend it, it tears the other side. You mend it, it tears the other side. It's what is happening to this earth.
Yes, yes.
So you see, this is all about nature worship and about Sunday sacredness.
And who's behind that?
It's the Pope, of course.
And the devil himself.
Yes, the devil is behind the scene. The person who is in front is the Pope. But
Yes.
we know that behind the scene is the devil himself, because Revelation has told us, Revelation 13, verse 3,
Yes, we read.
it says that,
And the dragon
gave him his power,
his seat, and great authority.
So we are seeing that the power, this first beast is getting his power from
The devil
devil.
himself. Yes. Now, this is another one. This is another thinking man. How long, if you don't believe the Bible, then believe the thinking man. How long do you think the depression it will last? If the economy finally falls apart, after this much stimulus, economists will flip from being endlessly bullish to endlessly bearish. These are forces in the market, stock markets. And we saw this Ellen White talking about. They control the stock markets. They say the market is bullish. The markets, it's Sabbath. I don't want to explain how the market is bullish. They say now we are in a decade-long plus depression like in the 1930s. But I say, no, will be hell. It will be by very fast. 2024, we are going to be out of what I call the next. What happened? Did it happen just at once, or they were preparing? Do you remember?
Yes, before 1930, in fact, you can see there were signs that were showing that there will be a depression.
Yeah.
The Great Depression. So those who had eyes, the Bible says the wise shall understand. But the foolish, they cannot understand. Even Daniel chapter 12. Understand these things. Let's go to Daniel chapter 12.
Yes, Daniel.
Daniel chapter 12. Daniel chapter 12, verse 10, it says, many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. But shall understand. So before, there were signs that we were showing they prepared. And those who could not prepare, they remained at ease, hoping for things to get to normal and hoping for things to be best. But lo and behold, the depression came. And when that Great Depression came, we are told, in fact, it is on record that the whole family, one Irish potato for the whole family.
Imagine.
Now you can imagine, just try to imagine that maybe a family, let me say even a family of three,
Imagine.
father,
Even two.
mother, and child,
Even husband
or
and wife.
just two, husband and wife.
One potato.
Then you have only one potato.
Massive.
You boil it and then you eat. But there I said the whole family, meaning there were some other family members, they could eat one potato. And many people did what? They didn't have any, they did not have anything.
Mhm.
The banks, everything collapsed
Imagine.
overnight.
Imagine.
People woke up, they found that the Great Depression was there and they were caught in the mix.
Mm.
But those who had prepared, they were already in the country. They had already grown their own food.
Mm.
The trucks were not coming in to bring in the food so that people can buy in the groceries.
Mm.
You know, in fact, they were saying that it only takes 3 days for the food in the supermarket to get finished.
Yes.
We saw this. This is part of the Great Reset when COVID came.
The first time.
And now people were scared of the
Panicking.
lockdowns. People were panicking. We saw people were fighting over tissue.
Much.
Within hours, not even 3 days,
Mm.
within hours, the supermarkets were empty. There was the tissue was gone, food was gone, everything was gone. And there were people who had prepared for this crisis.
Imagine.
The preppers, they were laughing at Christians and worldlings who were rushing to go and buy food.
Imagine.
Because the preppers, then they are prepared at any time.
Mhm.
They know that there's something that is coming ahead. Though they are not Christians, but at least they are preparing for what they don't know.
Imagine.
But as Christians, even as much as we know all these things, everything they catch us by surprise.
Imagine. And during the 1930s, do you know that thing happened overnight? They woke up,
Yes.
no money in the bank. Anyway, it's Sabbath. I don't want to explain more. Let's see. Will it happen in Kenya? Kenya's debt near 6 trillion as Treasury goes on a what? Borrowing spree. Did we see the agenda of the Great Reset is to increase debts? Yes, that we saw that. This means debt owned by every Kenyan, also known as debt per capita, has increased threefold to 115,690 in June this year from 42 what? 215 when President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed the embattled economists to control the country's what? Pass in the strings of the 2013. These embattled economists, the Jesuit himself, the Opus Dei. Kenya's borrowing hits an average of 2.5 billion every day. This is on October 4th, what? 2019. I'm just passing. COVID, how Kenya took 4.5 billion loan every day. Mercy. The borrower is the servant of who? The lender. Proverbs 4. Kenya borrowed 4.5 billion every 24 hours for the first 3 months of the COVID-19 pandemic in a debt accumulation spree rarely witnessed in any East African country. Mercy. Do you know, surprising for those in Tanzania? Do you know the current president has already signed? He has already signed for loans. That's the agenda. You have to go down. So that another system that can control how the buying and selling is. Let's continue. This is 7 trillion. This is 2019. Kenyan debt unsustainable has reached a what? Crisis level, says Kenyan Peasants League. This is a very good, by the way, this Liva Campesina is a Jesuit newspaper, Catholic newspaper. They were saying during COVID-19 pandemic period, the Kenya debt situation worsened as the Kenyan government incurred more debts in the name of responding to coronavirus pandemic. I'm just reading. This is the thinking man. Don't blame me. I'm reading. Furthermore, Kenya is supposed to start repaying the Chinese loans that was used to construct the Nairobi-Naivasha Standard Railway from Nairobi, from what? From January 2021, which is going to add to the Kenyan taxpayers' burden. The loan is to be repaid in 30 installments between January 2021 to July 2025.
2035.
And then we read the loan maturity comes at a time when Kenya is facing what? A budgetary deficit shown
7 trillion.
Or
62.5% of the economy.
Now imagine if you have debt which is more than 50, meaning that more than 50% is not even revenue. 50% is debt, then we're in trouble. Meaning revenue is less than this. Now let's continue how they're doing it. News that Kenya's board to international IMF pressure to include 3.5 trillion parastatals and county loans as part of country national debt just worsened this situation by exposing Kenyan counties as another frontier for debt colonization and capture. Meaning now the country imefika limit. Now what they are doing, they are bonding now the parastatals as security. They are bonding the counties. Hey, the move is set to increase the Kenyan debt from current 7 trillion to 10.4 trillion, passing the 9 trillion set by Parliament the other day. This notwithstanding the fact that Treasury draft budget review and outlook paper stating that Kenya expects to incur an extra 1.8 trillion before June 2022. The fear is that should the county be included as national debts, the next step will be capture of the counties by some international creditors, which might see them privatized like some parastatals. The counties fail to repay debt on time. By the way, do you know the people of the county now, right now, they're in debt, even they cannot be able to pay salaries? It is so sad because they'll be able to conform because the borrower is the servant of who? Of the lender. Let's continue. State Miles, this is April 15, 2021. State Miles job cut pay from 2.257 billion IMF loan, meaning that the money that the other people are refusing is not, it is salary. And you know, Ellen White talks about in Country Living, page 7, that the trade unions are the ones that are going to bring the time of trouble such as never before, because they're going to bring the civil war between the rich and the poor, the government and the people. Now, if what will happen if the payout or the check is lucky? People are going to revolt. And they revolt, they'll say, we want a new order. And the papas will come out and say, fine, I have solution.
You're going to pardon your loans.
Yes, you're going
as
to
long
pardon
as
your
you do
loan.
A, B, C, D.
Yes, yes. Maybe explain that thing in Fratelli Tutti.
Yes, when you look at the copy that came out, Fratelli Tutti, end of 2020, you know,
Yes.
2020 was an eventful year.
Yes, yes.
Pope Francis, that Fratelli Tutti, part of it's talking about pardoning the debts that the countries are owing. So, but when they pardon you the debts, there are some conditions that are attached to them. They can't just pardon like that.
Yes.
There are conditions that you have to comply. And after complying, that's when you're going to be pardoned. So that's why they are saying, as we saw that man saying that you owed nothing and you're going to be happy. Imagine now where the Kenyan government, and it's not only Kenya, many countries, including the US, they are in debt. The only country that so far is known not to have any debt is Vatican City. Because Vatican City, by the way, is the richest country in the world. We saw in the documentary, The Secrets of Vatican, it was saying that even the people who work in Vatican Bank, they don't know how much gold and how much money is in that bank. So you find out that all these countries, they are busy borrowing. And you see the COVID-19 has worsened the situation. Someone may ask, where is the money that it was being borrowed every day? 4.2, is it 4.2 billion every day for the first 3 months? That was a lot of money. Where did it go? And when the budget was saying that people were drinking tea, people were buying, I don't know, whatever, biscuits and everything, it was costing 4 billion. And all that money just went, someone pocketed it. But at the end of the day, the country is the one that is on the knees. So you see, this economy of this world, it's not going to stand. Because when you look at Daniel 2, when Nebuchadnezzar had that dream, as the metals were coming down, it was losing value. When you see the head was God. Even the economy was good. During the time of Babylon, the economy was good because it was God, represented by God. It was so wealthy. There was a lot of God and the economy was good. When it comes down, as it is coming down, the material is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until at the end of the day, it's iron mixed with clay, which means that even the value, even the economy, you cannot compare the world today and the way Nebuchadnezzar lived. There's no country that can boast that they are like the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar or the kingdom of Babylon. So you can see, you can see that there are many things that are happening behind the scene because Jesus is coming. And when you see this economy that has reached the 10 divided kingdom, what else do we see? We see Michael is going to stand, because Michael is not going to continue sitting, because all these things, they are saying that they cannot let a good crisis to go into waste.
Yes.
It's going to continue. It's not going to get better. By the way, people who are praying that we are going back to normal, I think this is we should start thinking twice, because every day we are seeing that things are no longer the same. By the way, in Kenya, we are talking of the third wave. I don't know if the second wave was there or
We're saying the fourth.
It jumped to the third wave. In Japan, I heard yesterday on BBC, they were saying that they have reached fourth wave. So there's another wave coming. So the people who are praying that this COVID is ending tomorrow, I think we should just start getting used to this new normal, because things the way they are, every time you're going to see there's another wave. But like today, they are saying that the COVID that is in Brazil, it is now killing babies. Most of the people who have died in Brazil, they are babies. They are children who are in ICU. Here in Africa, it's rare that children are dying of COVID. So we are seeing all these waves are coming one after the other. This is a good crisis that cannot be let to go to waste.
Now listen, there is a video here. Now listen, I don't know whether you heard it. Listen for yourself what is happening.
Continues. The communist nation poised to soon take over Kenya's largest port in Mombasa. China will reportedly take over the port after Kenya failed to pay back loans to China. Now, China has denied the report and denies ever using the port as collateral in a deal with Kenya. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy planning freedom of navigation missions in the Arctic, a move countering communist Chinese influence in the region. This coming almost a year after China announced its intention to include the Arctic in the One Belt, One Road infrastructure project, making the ridiculous claim that it is a near Arctic state. Joining me now is Fox Business national security and foreign policy analyst, Dr. Waleed Phares. Let's first talk about what's happening in Kenya. I'm interested in this story because I used to cover Latin America. I've seen it happen a lot in little countries in Latin America, like Nicaragua, for example, where China came into Nicaragua, had these big plans that they were going to build a new canal to rise with all these corrupt officials, including the president country, brought it home and then left.
Actually happening in Kenya and in the other countries that you have mentioned. While the United States is busy, super busy, with 4 active wars in the Middle East, with Iran, with North Korea, of course, containing Russia and of course our southern borders, a lot of stuff is happening. China is moving to the southern belt of the globe. That would be all of Latin America, Africa, we'll talk about Kenya, and South Asia. In addition to that, with Russia, they're interested now in the Arctic. So the tools that they have basically is, first of all, a lot of cash, a lot of money, and actual physical money that they can spend on countries that needs that money to pay off their debts. But second, also technology. They can offer a very cheap technology to these countries. And thirdly, it is a superpower which has a veto power in the Security Council. So China is using all of this to be able to move in those areas.
You know, they offer the technology. That's a particularly interesting facet of all this. But the technology that they're offering is stuff that's made by Huawei and made by ZTE. And we know that a lot of those technologies have stuff built into them, these backdoor channels that allow them to spy on what's going on in those countries. That's the reason our intel agencies have convinced the government not to use any of these products. So they're also gaining intel, which they could use for various purposes.
Hey, now this is a long video. So let me ask you, honey. Why Kenya? Why Kenya? Why not Tanzania? Why focus on Kenya? Why not focus on Kenya?
Okay, when you look at East Africa, you know Kenya is more of the US. You see, when you look at Kenya, Kenya has copied or it has adopted what is happening in the US. You see, in Kenya, they have counties or senators or whatever it is called. It is the same that is happening here. So it is just like it is a miniature of the United States, but now it is brought in Africa. And this is mostly a trial ground. So whatever they want to do to the whole world, they'll test it here in Kenya. So you find out that that's why they have a lot of the UN things, they are here. So when they want to do anything, they'll just come and try it here. When they see how it works here, then they'll roll it out. And you see all the eyes they are focusing here. So when they are saying the Chinese, they've put a lot of money and brought in their technology, which is spying, by the way, all of us. Even when you are seated here, they are seeing you. Everything they are spying. So this is the things that are happening. You know where we are going. You cannot escape. You can only hide in Jesus Christ.
Yes,
because this technology, by the way, it can locate you anywhere.
GPS.
But you have to hide under the wings of Jesus Christ.
Jeremiah hid and they could not see him. Jesus hid him. Yeah. So Jesus is the one to do that. Now I just want to rush, because Kenya, you see, they're talking about Ministry of Labor. There's something here they were saying that the Ministry of Labor wants part of the 257 billion loan from the IMF to cushion workers involuntarily squeezed out of employment through monthly stipend. The CS Simon Chelugui told the National Assembly Labour Committee that they're negotiating with the Treasury on the amount to be dispersed to the ministry to cushion workers who lost their jobs in the 5 counties as a result of what? The lockdown. The state seeks to offer monthly stipend during the periods of mass job cuts to ease the pain. Now, there's something that Kenya last month introduced a wave of new curbs, which restricted travel in 5 counties, including Nairobi, a stricter curfew and the closure of bars as COVID-19 infections hit record levels. The restrictions have raised fears of a second wave of what? Job losses and pay cuts across sectors in an economy that dipped into recession in the 3rd quarter of last year at the height of COVID-19 crisis. So, has there COVID waves there? Also waves for money?
Yes.
So
when you look at this is how people were protesting. In fact, people were signing in the petition to say they should stop the IMF from giving Kenya the 257 billion. There's a video that it went around that they got the 200,000 signatories to stop the country to get more loans. But will it be heard?
I do not be heard. Ellen White said in the future, actually it is now. The problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. We should now begin to heed the instruction given us over and over again. Get out of the cities into the rural district where the houses are not crowded together and where we'll be free from the interference of what?
Of enemies.
Then we create which economy?
The Eden economy.
This is what we need to do. We need to come together, my brothers and sisters. We are being told that, look, this is what is happening. This is what the IMF credit facility. They are putting total disbursement by July is 79 billion. First disbursement, 33.7. 1.769 billion will be disbursed upon review every 6 months. So this is the level of domestic debt as at 7 trillion as at 2020. 2013, it was 1.79. Public debt, it is 370 allocated to counties. Public debt at 1.17 trillion. So we are in trouble. By June 2021, we'll be owing 7.6 trillion. Debt by 2022, 8.6. Debt ceiling, 9 trillion already passed by June 2024. Kenyan to borrow 12.4 billion abroad by June 2022. Kenya plans to borrow 12.4 billion between now and June 2022 from the foreign sources of IMF. From the IMF said in a report detailing terms and conditions of separate 2.34 billion, which billion financing package approved by its board last week. So now we are going fast. We're winding up. Listen, this is another one. This is what we are talking about. Read.
It says it is 2023. Here is how we fix the global economy. So this is the Great Reset. By the way, this was the magazine that came out last year. So they are talking about 2023.
Imagine.
So meaning we are in 2021. So this economy.
Actually, they were talking in October 21st,
Yes.
2020.
Yes, it was. This magazine came out in October, before even the elections, because the elections were in November. So they were saying it is 2023. Here is how we fixed the global economy. This is the Great Reset. So when you look at this picture, they say a picture with 1,000 words. The other side, it's now. It's between 2019
On the left, far left.
and 2023. When you see here, there's COVID-19, there's hunger, there's climate change. All these things are happening in the same place. You see the vaccines, they are there.
Even before it was
Now we are in 2023. The other side, they've repaired the earth. There's wind power. There's everything has gone back to normal. But as you notice, the vaccines are still there.
The year is 2023. The COVID-19 pandemic has come to an end. Now, how did they know?
And the global economy is on the path to recover.
Now we do medical missionary. Do you predict when somebody is going to get healed? Sure. Yes. No, I'm saying we know they're using to predict that everybody will be cured. Now let's continue. How did we get here? How did our economy and society evolve to overcome the greatest crisis of our age?
Well,
this is iron. This is iron. And in fact, in this newspaper, they even predicted who winning. They predicted.
Yes, they said it's Joe Biden has won. In fact, they were saying it's January, and Joe Biden has become the president. And things have started going back to normal.
These people, they know what they're happening. My brothers, sisters, the time is coming when we cannot sell at any price. The decree will soon go forth prohibiting men to buy or sell of any man, save him that hath the mark of the beast. We came near having this realized in California a short time since. This is 1988. But this was only a threatening of the blowing of the four winds. As yet, they are held by the four angels. We are not just ready. There's a work yet to be done. Then the angels will be bidden to let go. The four winds may blow upon the earth. That will be decisive time for God's children. A time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. Now is opportunity to work. My brothers and sisters, we have a few short months. This thing I'm telling you, as we wind up, America is going to be day. Kenya is going to be night. There's a high probability that we're going to be awakened by our brothers and sisters that the National Sunday Law has been passed in America. What will you do? Will you going to be found ready? They want, heeding Pope Francis' encyclical Con Pevue to a Green New Deal. We must also celebrate rest, especially from what? Buying and selling, by returning to a focus on keeping the Sabbath. As it did for Pope Francis argues that this kind of conversion can restore ecological equilibrium, establishing harmony within ourselves, with the others, with nature and other living creatures and with what? So you see the green new economy.
The Green New Deal. And when you see the Vice President of America, she's the one who is part of the new Green Deal.
Yes, before even this happened in 2019.
Yes.
Let's continue. This is the same person who was saying that Harry Dent taking the stock market temperature, it's a fever pitch. It's the riskiest market since 1929. Were you told about the stock market by Ellen White? Yes, in the next civil war. He argues that the US economy ready to fall apart. A huge collapse is coming. This thing will be hell. That's what the contrarian, as Dent has been double think as a think advisor, thinking man. In an interview, the strategist correctly called Japan's 1989 bubble burst and recession, the dot-com crash in 2000, and the populist swell that made Donald Trump president. What will be the biggest crash ever, he urges, will hit by the end of June this year. This he wrote in March 10, 2021. That will hit by what? If not sooner, it will be the initiation of the next big economy downturn. My brothers and sisters, what if God allows the wind this thing to pass? Are you ready? Are we making plans to go to the country? You know, some of us, we just have, oh, you know, let me get more money. Oh, you know, let me just assess. Oh, you know, what is the income question? We need to come and have even a country living conference. We sort out the problem, because thinking men are telling us the stones are pointing that the prophecy is about to be fulfilled. Again and again, the Lord has instructed that our people are to take their families away from the cities into the country, where they can raise their own provisions. For in the future, the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. We should now begin to heed the instruction given us over and over again. Get out of the cities into the rural district, where the houses are not crowded closely together, and where you will be free from the interference of enemies.
When you look at this book called Country Living,
Mm,
it was written after 1888.
mm,
You know, in 1888,
Mm.
the Brer Bill, it was about Sunday law.
yes.
The Sunday law was almost passed.
Mm,
And then we see Alonzo,
Mm.
A.T. Jones going
Yes.
to stand and defending the Sabbath.
mm,
That was the agitation.
mm.
That was the what? That was Cestius.
Yes,
coming.
yes.
But now Titus,
Titus
is
is
coming. And this time around, there's no going back.
Yes.
And after that, after 1888, God showed Ellen White about the message of country living.
Yes. On time.
So she started writing about getting
Get
out of the city, getting out of the city, getting out of the city. Cestius, Titus is coming, because Cestius came and withdrew.
Mm.
But now Titus is coming. There's no going back.
And you remember when Titus came, do you know they wanted the gold? The Titus, they wanted the gold.
Yes.
That's why the sanctuary was burnt, because they were fighting with the gold that had built the sanctuary. Then somebody,
They
I don't
wanted
know,
to spare it.
with the fires that they hold, it was burnt. So gold is being fought right now during the time of Titus, which means the economy is being fought. These are very, very practical application. This is the Geneva, Switzerland. Was not going to remain. This we are going to cover next week. Embrace Agenda 21. Why 21? Just ask yourself. Join us next week. We're going to look at the population policies and programs that should be considered with full recognition of women's rights. We're going to cover all these. Why the Holy See is a member of that. We are going to cover all these, the common good, how the markets and the hotels and pharmacies will not be open. Join us next week. And how, my brothers and sisters, the Sunday lockdown, the Sunday, actually they're called, and now look, revolution. Kenyans are hungry and angry for what? What marked the last thing before the devil was thrown down to earth? Revolution. Revolution marks the end of any surging crisis. We need to ask God to guide us. We're being told that the dignitaries of church and state, we're about to wind up. We're about to wind up, my brothers and sisters. We're about to wind up. We're about to wind up. We're being told that the dignitaries of church and state will unite to bribe, persuade, or compel all classes to honor Sunday. The lack of divine authority, let's not live before we pray, will be supplied by oppressive enactments. Political corruption is destroying the love of justice and the regard for the truth. Even in free America, rulers and legislators, in order to secure what? Public favor, will yield to a what? Will yield to a popular demand. My brothers and sisters, people are going to yield for a popular demand, because the popular demand, even politicians, you know what they want? They want a popular demand so that they can be able to survive. Let's read. Popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance, because we saw money is going to bring liberty of conscience, which has caused so great a sacrifice, will no longer be respected. In the soon coming conflict, we shall see the exemplified prophet words. The dragon is wroth with the woman and going to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus. So, my brothers and sisters, we are going to see what we've not seen, my brothers. There are things which we cannot be able to cover now. We are being told, my brothers and sisters, this is the message of the prophet, the things we're going to cover next week. This time is sorry, we need those, is almost finished. Are we ready for the Christ? Let's continue as we are listening to this. Repeatedly, the Lord has instructed our people to get out of the world, out of the cities into the country. Repeatedly, the Lord has instructed us that we are to work the cities from outdoors. In these cities, we are to have houses of worship as memorials of God. But the institutions for the publication of our literature, for the healing of the sick, and the training of our workers, we are to be established outside the cities. Especially is important that our youth should be shielded from temptations of city life. We are to be wise as harmless as doves in our, and from these outpost centers we are. You know, Sister White, when she was shown about country living, about the crisis, she had to tell God to remove the sin from her because it was chaos. It was bad. Let me tell you, it would be too sad that me and you cannot be able to provide our family bread at this time. You know, my brothers and sisters, God is counting on you today. That as much as we are preparing our spiritual preparation, we have to make steps for the country. We have to move, my brothers and sisters, very fast. Trouble is increasing daily. Trouble is increasing, and we are not ready. The harvest is near. The harvest is near, and we are not saved. Is there anything that is hindering you from making plans to go to the country? Is there anything that is making us not to have a communion and tell you it will be too sad? Listen to these presentations and we get lost. It will be too sad. It will be very, very sad. We'll have wished that we will have not watched this presentation. We'll have wished that we didn't see what happened. But my brothers and sisters, we need to ask God to guide us. Because if God does not guide us right now, we are going to get lost, my brothers and sisters. May God be with us. May God guide us. Let's continue fasting and prayer. Do you know, there's a promise I love in this hour of ages 203, 205, 204, that God answers more prayers on this summer than any other day. I know you're part of the team that you've been entangled in the city. I've been entangled in the city, and we need to ask God to open the way. We need to come together. We need to ask God, because my brothers and sisters, it's going to be bad. We saw that person saying there's going to be hell. These are thinking, man, now what else do you expect, my brothers and sisters? Stones are preaching. We've not been heeding the prophet's word. We've not been heeding Christ's words. May God help us. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we put everyone in this program right now. All of us are entangled in the fight to go to the country. But Lord, there are many things that are entangled. As the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, so we are enslaved in the system of Babylon. And you are calling us out of Babylon. Come out of her, my children. But Lord, we want to be increased with goods and have nothing, God. It will be too sad that we fought for our jobs, that we fought for our businesses, that we fought for the good life in the cities, and we get lost and we have a plan. Lord, help us that we behold and we meet and press together so that we may move as a company of soldiers, so that we move before this crisis. Help us, Lord, tonight. Answer this prayer. Provide funds, because you said you own silver and gold and a cattle in 1,000 hills. Please, Lord, please provide a way of escape. Let us move out of our houses. Let's tour this country. Let's look at the best places that we can save our children from immorality and ourselves, so that we can have a perfect character for eternity. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord. For this I pray. For this I pray, my brothers and sisters. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. May God bless you. May God bless you. Till next week. We say goodbye.